Andy, thanks for sitting down with me.
It's great to be with you, Mark.
Now, we're here in Ames, Iowa for the National Association of Plant Breeders annual meeting. You have received the Friends of Plant Breeding Award. Now, this award honors people whose career may or may not have been involved in plant breeding, but who, through their professional activities and passion, have contributed significantly to the plant breeding discipline. Now, this describes you to a T, being involved with the American Seed Trade Association. You're a huge name in the seed industry. You're featured in Seed World magazine quite often. I mean, when people talk about the American seed industry, your name comes up quite often for all the work that you do. So obviously our viewers know you well, so I won't ask you to give us your whole history in this industry. But when you think back, what was that first moment you remember becoming really interested in agriculture, seed and plant breeding? What was that first spark that you remember that first kind of set that off?
Well, Mark, I'd probably have to go back to early 90s when I was working for Congressman Tom Lewis out of Palm Beach, Florida. I did his agriculture committee work, and I had the chance to go to Florida with the Florida Farm Bureau Federation. We went down to Immokalee, and we walked through demonstration plots of everything from carrots to celery to lettuce and sugarcane, and the plant breeders showed us their demonstration plots and what they were trying to deal with respect to Mother Nature and water and hurricanes and bugs, pests and disease. And really, you saw that benefit that the breeders were bringing to these programs and the funding that was coming, whether it's from the states or from grower checkoffs or from the federal government, to help improve plants in order to give farmers the opportunities to address Mother Nature's challenges, but also to feed the world. And so it really has been a passion ever since.
Now, you've been directly and very energetically involved as an advocate for plant breeding and agriculture your whole career. You worked on Capitol Hill, as you mentioned. Since 2006, you've led ASTA, one of the oldest trade organizations in the United States. As an authority on plant germplasm and breeding, ASTA advocates for science and policy issues of industry-wide importance. What's the biggest policy challenge on your plate right now, and how are you working to try and resolve that?
You know, there are a lot of ongoing issues that you deal with as an industry, whether it's regulatory or whether it's state issues or international issues. But I would say the biggest issue that we're dealing with today, Mark, is the pace of innovation is far outrunning or outpacing the ability of the federal government to monitor it, to develop policy or regulation, to ensure that they're comfortable with it, but also that the public would be comfortable with it. And that's going to continue. And the further and further we get along with our plant breeding evolution and discovery and innovation, the slower the government gets. And that starts to become reins on our discovery and the ability to implement it. As we look at climate change and the pace of that, it's probably, while everyone says climate change is gradual, well, government policy and understanding is even slower. And that's not good for innovation, especially as quickly as we need it, especially as quickly as growers expect it.
Now, Rick Falconer, manager at Rijk Zwaan America, has said you have mastered bringing people, associations, and stakeholders across the industry together to help advance the industry. What's your number one way of getting people around the table to cooperate? Because, you know, people, it's human nature. Sometimes we have conflicts and can be hard to negotiate, but as Rick said, you've really mastered that technique. How do you do that? How do you bring them together to talk and cooperate and get things done?
Well, that's a huge compliment coming from Rick. He's a great friend and colleague and great asset for this industry. You know, I think, Mark, the core of it is collaboration. You know, you bring the people around the table who can help you find a solution. And you don't start with what you disagree on. You start with what you agree on and what the goal is. And it's not about ASTA getting credit. It's about the seed industry getting credit. It's about the grower getting credit and having new products. You know, the credit will come to ASTA, you know, if we find resolution and solution. That's why we have an association like ASTA, is how do we bring people around the table to find those solutions to issues as they evolve and not say, well, we have to have our name on it. That's not the case at all. We'd just as soon, you know, let the grower groups get their name on it, or let, you know, companies get their name on it. to benefit the industry at large and to benefit the grower community.
Now, as I say, we're here in Ames, Iowa for the NAPB meeting. You've encouraged NAPB to be involved at all levels, national, international. To you, what's the value of this organization?
Well, there's really two organizations here at the same time. The Plant Breeding Coordinating Committee, which is mainly made up of public breeders and advisory to the government, and then NAPB. And I think the benefit of this group is they can talk about what they do, and they can talk about what they are discovering or how the science is changing. And especially when we look at the young women and men who are early in their career, they have huge passion about trying to find solutions for issues here in Iowa or issues in the US or global issues that impact the ability to feed people, the basic ability. And what I love to talk about with this group is we have a responsibility as an industry. Yes, we sit here in the US, very comfortable country, and able to feed ourselves, but there are a lot in the world that can't and rely on countries like the US and Europe to find solutions to their issues. And that's where the plant breeding community comes in. And Mark, when I talk about plant breeding, my passion is deeper than just seeds. That's who pays the bills and who employs me, but it's plant breeding. It's the trees, vines, bush, and tree, and those crops as well, vegetatively propagated. It's plant breeding, and how do you get that discovery out there? So there's nothing better than a passionate young doctoral student or postdoc that can talk about discovery that they've made in the last 3 to 5 years because of innovation. And that's who we want to put out there, telling the story to their peers and to their parents.
Before I let you go, what does this award mean to you, the Friends of Plant Breeding Award?
It's really humbling. I mean, I just really have a passion for this group of what they do and what the potential is. And it's an honor for me to participate with them and then to be recognized. It's just a very humbling experience, and it's quite rewarding for me.
Thanks so much for sitting down with me.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. It's great to see you.